Broadcasting from our studio in Boston, Solutions Review is proud to showcase ManageEngine in the Solution Spotlight, a unique online event for industry professionals.
I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review, and welcome to the Solution Spotlight featuring ManageEngine, and more specifically, how ManageEngine's identity and access management solution, AD360, can help you strengthen your organization's cybersecurity posture. AD360 is an enterprise IAM solution that helps manage identities, secure access, and ensure compliance. As many of you may know, ManageEngine is the IT management division of Zoho Corporation, and from our perspective, we see AD360 as one of the top solutions for your modern IAM needs, including fostering a zero-trust environment. It comes with a range of capabilities, including automated user lifecycle and entitlement management, adaptive authentication, risk assessment, and threat intelligence for enhanced identity governance. And joining us to walk you through the AD360 solution is Ray Minash, Lead Customer Success at ManageEngine. Ray, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me here, Doug. You look terrific. Good morning.
Well, I always like talking to somebody who has customer success in their title. So tell me a little bit, before we jump into the presentation, tell me a little bit about your experience and the opportunity that you see at ManageEngine with AD360.
Like how you just said, AD360 is this comprehensive identity and access management solution from ManageEngine. So this is what we call one-stop shop for all your identity and access management challenges, starting from onboarding, offboarding, streamlining all that, access controls, and also identity governance, audit, setting up alert profiles. So we will talk about that elaborately when we get to that part. So for an intro, that's how we see it, Doug.
And tell me a little bit about your role. So you've been at ManageEngine for over 5 years now. Tell me a little bit about kind of what you're up to.
Okay, so I wear multiple hats at ManageEngine. So right now, I'm a lead customer success for AD Solutions, Active Directory suite of products, where I meet a lot of customers, prospects, ask them about their pain points, feature requests, and I liaise between the sales and the product management team to bring in new features, that we can prioritize based on the market situation out there. So basically, that's what I do right now.
Well, great. Well, I'm going to let you jump into the presentation. Before that, I'm going to let everybody know that at the end of the presentation, we're going to come back together with Ray, and I've got a bunch of questions that I'm going to ask, and we'll go through those and maybe dig in a little bit more on some of the things that we've seen.
Excellent. Sounds great, Doug. I'll jump right in. In today's session, we're going to talk about how AD360 is going to fix your security posture and its critical capabilities as an identity and access management solution from ManageEngine. So let's start by addressing the definition of identity and access management. So the Wikipedia says, identity and access management is providing the right people with the right access at the right time. And the four important pillars of identity and access management would be authentication, authorization, user management, central user repository. So the definition might seem very simple, but it can get really tricky if we have to do all these things you see on the screen manually. Because I personally believe identity and access management plays a pivotal role in identifying and bridging the cybersecurity gaps. A bad actor can easily be singled out if you have the best practices of identity and access management implemented. So that takes us to the next question, the million-dollar question: why IAM now? So we have been talking about identity and access management for close to a decade now. Especially, we have been talking about it more after the pandemic, right? Because the pandemic changed a lot of things. We really cannot go by the traditional perimeter-based approach. It's not relevant anymore because we have the hybrid work model and bring your own device culture. And we have extended our boundaries. We have transcended our boundaries. So we need an effective identity and access management solution that could monitor and manage hybrid identities, right? And now let's talk about the components that are within AD360. Again, these are plugins within AD360. AD360 is the suite itself, the umbrella. We have given you the liberty to pick and choose the ones you need and you don't need, right? So you have AD Manager plus, AD Audit plus, M365 Manager plus, AD Self-Service plus, Exchange Reporter plus, Recovery Manager plus. So all these components would make AD360. Again, let me reiterate, you could pick and choose the components you need and you don't need based on your exact requirements. So we're going to talk about the functionalities of all these components as we progress. Let's move on to the next slide. And these are some of the real world challenges I personally gathered based on my customer visit experience. Managing access for remote work, getting a holistic view on the end user access to files, folders, shares has always been a pain point, right? So even if you can pull up a report using a PowerShell script, how would you manage those permissions bulkily? It's still going to be a pain. And user password fatigue. Let's say if you're going to let your users put their passwords in multiple avenues, multiple applications, then it's going to result in password fatigue, and they're going to come up with a lame password, which is easy to hack. And the provisioning and deprovisioning process, if it's manual, it's error prone, and it's very time consuming. And it's time that we streamline that and make it automated. We are going to talk about it extensively. And cumbersome audit procedure. So let's say if you want to track a specific change in your Active Directory environment, usually you go to that specific machine, let's say a domain controller, you get into the event viewer using that event ID, you narrow it down to a timestamp and see what has changed. Again, very time consuming. And also you don't have a centralized view of your Active Directory changes, both on-prem and Azure. So these are some of the real world challenges I gathered. And let's move on. And I must say AD360 checks all the boxes. So AD360 can give you the 360-degree automated user provisioning and deprovisioning. You get in-depth Active Directory reporting. You can create help desk technicians in AD360 based on the roles and responsibilities you have created. And it can also be your identity provider, do single sign-on with various applications. You can create custom password policy requirements that can act on top of your Active Directory password policy. And you can have two-factor authentication for machine logins, OWA logins, and VPN logins. And you could also track real-time AD changes, both on-prem and Azure, set up alerts, and also monitor those changes. So I would say AD360 would be that ideal IAM solution for you guys. All right, so this is how the identity and access management lifecycle looks like. It starts from onboarding and it ends with offboarding. All right, so you have other pieces in this cycle like authentication, authorization, access control, self-service, password reset, password management, compliance, governance, auditing. So an ideal IAM solution should check all these boxes that you see in this identity and access management lifecycle, which I think AD360 definitely does. All right. So now let's delve in deep into the functionalities of AD360. We'll elaborately talk about what it can do. So automated bulk user provisioning. I told you it's time we streamline the user provisioning and the deprovisioning process, right? So let me tell you what usually happens. Your HR would have the information of new hires. They will send it over to you, let's say in an email. They will have a CSV file attached to the email. So you just create users manually in AD, Office 365, create mailboxes in Exchange. If that's not the case, you have your HRMS system and you can retrieve information there. Again, you have to manually create the accounts in AD, Office 365, Exchange, and other applications you guys use in your environment. What if I say we can automate the entire process for you, not just the provisioning, but also the deprovisioning? Because the provisioning process is relatively easy than deprovisioning. At least during the provisioning process, you know who needs to have what permissions. But during the deprovisioning process, you really, most of the times, you really don't have visibility into who has what permissions, and it's very hard to keep tabs of who has what permissions. So that's why I'm saying it's time that we streamline, automate the entire user provisioning and deprovisioning process. Take a look at the pictorial representation, the screenshot. Let's say you have the new employees, you give the automation scheduler that you have set up in AD360 the CSV file, and it's going to automatically create accounts in AD, Office 365, Exchange, and G Suite. We also have this orchestration functionality, which was brought into AD360 recently, where we can also provision and deprovision accounts to your third-party applications as well that you guys use in your environment. And also, you could create templates in AD360 for different use cases. You could have a template for IT. You could have another template for finance, for HR. You could create rules and conditions within those templates. So when you set up an automation scheduler, you associate a template with that automation scheduler so that everything automatically falls into place and nothing gets messed up. So that's automated user provisioning and deprovisioning. And AD360 definitely checks that box. The next thing would be cleaning up stale accounts. So this is a common pain point across the globe, right? Personally, I know how hard this is. And 60% of the attacks that are happening outside is due to a perpetrator taking advantage of an inactive account or a disabled account. So AD hygiene is very, very important. And if you're gonna, ensure your AD hygiene manually, it's again a very tedious process because you need to find out the inactive accounts. You have to move them to a separate OU, keep them there for these many days, and then once the time is over, you have to manually delete their AD account, take away their Office 365 license, decommission their Exchange mailbox, and also revoke permissions from all the other applications they have been using in your environment. But what if I say AD360 can help you automate this process? So we can help you clean up a stale account. So you have set up an automation scheduler, and based on your input, it's going to find out inactive accounts for these many days, and it's going to disable, automatically push them to an OU that you have created and specified. It's going to keep them there for these many days. And without you telling it when to delete, you would initially specify that when you have created the automation scheduler. And once that time period is over, it's going to automatically delete the AD account, take away the Office 365 license, the Exchange mailbox will be decommissioned, and their permissions to all the other third-party applications will automatically be revoked, and your AD is now clean. So this would take a huge weight off your shoulders, I'm very sure. So the next thing would be automated access management, all right? So let's say you could set up rules in such a way where if the designation equals manager, as you see in the screenshot, then they will automatically be a member of the managers group, so that you ensure the right people get the right access, and also you have visibility into who has what access. And also the case two, you could see if department is marketing, then they could be a part of the campaigns group. So instead of doing this manually, you could automate the process. Manual process, again, is error prone. People could end up with either superfluous or inadequate access. So it's better to have the access controls automated. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about would be the user access visibility. So this is what most of us lack, visibility into who has what permissions to files, folders, shares, security groups, so on and so forth. So AD360 gives you in-depth visibility into who has what permissions, very granular, visibility into who has what permissions to folders, files, shares, OUs, groups, etc. So this is really going to be a lifesaver. And also, this report you see right here on the screen can help you meet your compliance standards, just letting you know. All right. So moving on to the next slide, role-based access. So personally, I feel the less number of hands that touch AD, the better it is. All right. So AD360 allows you to create help desk technicians within the product, and they're going to have a separate login to AD360. So you could create a help desk technician just to reset passwords, another help desk technician just to provision, deprovision accounts, another help desk technicians to just, uh, you know, maintain access controls. All right, so that they would have separate logins, and they would not have direct access to Active Directory. So this way you split up the load, and also uh, we have something called business workflows in AD360. Okay, so what you could do is once your help desk technician does something, instead of that getting directly updated in Active Directory, it comes to you for approval. So it goes through a chain of approval process so that you could oversee what your help desk technicians have been doing, right? Just to ensure sanity. All right. So the next slide, self-service password reset. AD360 gives you a self-service password reset and account unlock platform. We let you reset passwords in 3 different ways. One, we give you a dedicated web portal where you could go reset your passwords, unlock your accounts. You also have the mobile app for both Android and iOS. And the last option would be to append a link right on the logon screen of your machines, just like what you see in the screenshot. So we could append a link that says reset password / unlock account, so which you could click reset your passwords. And if you're wondering, how am I going to let my end users reset their passwords? Your answer is in the next slide. So we have different MFA mechanisms that you could take advantage of. We have 20 to be precise: security questions, email, SMS, third-party integrations like Google Authenticator, Microsoft, YubiKey. So you could tailor this as you see fit, and you could incorporate these MFA techniques into the password reset workflow, so that whenever your end users reset their password, they need to prove their identity by taking on the MFA mechanisms you have deployed. Only then we will let them to do a successful password reset. Again, this is going to bring down the password reset tickets and calls significantly. And we have a proven track record of that. So try giving it a shot if you're going to trial AD360. And also AD360 helps you send end users notifications about their expiring passwords. I'm not sure how you achieve that right now, maybe using PowerShell scripts. But if you have a GUI, why not use it? All right. So you could automate the process, and based on the time interval, an email gets sent out to the end users, letting them know that their passwords are going to expire in so and so days. So the next slide would be adaptive authentication. Yes. What's the difference first between the adaptive authentication and legacy MFA? So the legacy MFA is static, right? So you authenticate, no matter where you are, you authenticate, an OTP gets sent. All right. So it's again very vulnerable. A hacker could easily get his or her hands on the OTP and everything goes haywire. But adaptive authentication is very contextual, based on the IP address, device, risk score, business hours, geolocation. It's going to supply different MFA mechanisms based on different use cases. All right. For example, let's say you have an end user connecting within your network. Then if you have the adaptive authentication in place, it's going to give that end users just one MFA to take on. But if it senses a connection coming from an external world, then it's going to give them, let's say, 2 or 3 MFA techniques to ensure it's not a malicious source. So that's how adaptive authentication is going to function. And we have this contextual adaptive authentication functionality embedded into AD360. And this is definitely a functionality you need to check out and take it for a spin. So let's move on to the next slide. So password policy enforcer. So this is another piece within AD360 where you could create custom password policy requirements through AD360, where you could block dictionary words, blacklist compromised patterns, so on and so forth. If you're wondering whether if this would override your existing AD password policy, the answer is no. This is just gonna act on top of it. All right. So this is not going to override your AD password policy. This is going to work on top of it, like taking the precedence. All right. So let's say if an end user satisfies the password policy of AD Self-Service Plus, he or she will still be expected to meet the password policy that you have set in Active Directory. So this is like you have set an extra security layer on top of your Active Directory password policy. All right. And you could implement the password complexity requirements of AD360 not only on the web portal but also in the native Windows method. So whenever you do Control-Alt-Delete change a password, or let's say AD users and computers reset password, you could make sure the custom password policy requirements of AD360 are in place at both the places. And we also have a real-time API connection going on with Have I Been Pawned. I'm not sure if you have heard about Have I Been Pawned. It's a universal repository of compromised passwords and patterns. So every time a password is changed or reset using AD360, we check that with real-time with Have I Been Pawned repository. So if the password is present in the repository, we'll throw an error message stating that they cannot go forward with that password anymore, and we will give them a specific error message as in why they cannot go forward with that password they're trying to create. So yeah, that is password policy enforcer. Let's move on to the next slide. Single sign-on. Again, AD360 can be that identity provider where we could do single sign-on with multiple applications. We support protocols like SAML 2.0, OAuth, OpenID Connect. You could also bring in custom applications to do single sign-on with AD360. All right, and also we could do password sync with AD360. We can sync passwords real time with Office 365 so that you don't have a latency. And we could also do a domain-to-domain password sync if you have a multi-domain environment. It's bi-directional. We could do password sync with AS400 machines, Salesforce, and few other applications. And compliance-based reports. AD360 has compliance-based reporting. All right, so SOX, HIPAA, PCI, based on the regulatory standards outside. We have listed it within AD360 so that you can check whether if the reports are in alignment with the regulatory standards that you need to abide to. So we can give you reports such as logon failure. So normally if you want to check a logon failure event, you need to get to that specific machine, get into the event viewer, and do all the things you need to do to extract a report. But we give you 400 plus canned reports in AD360 for the changes that happen in your hybrid AD environment, so that you really don't have to go through the plight of fetching all those reports manually. So logon failure reports can be easily fetched from AD360, and any anomalous activities like unusual volume of logon failures, that would signify a brute force attack. And let's say a unusual volume of file changes, which could point to a ransomware attack. So these anomalous behaviors activities could be tracked by AD360, and we will immediately notify you about these activities so that you could jump on top of it immediately. And you could set up alerts for critical Active Directory events. All right, using AD360, let me give you an example here. Critical events like someone gets added to the domain admins group. That's very critical, right? Because let's say if a normal user gets added to a domain admins group, then if that account gets into the wrong hands, everything is going to burn to the ground. We really cannot let that happen, can we? Or let's say if you have a suspicion for insider attack, you could, set up an alert profile for that specific user, and you could track that user every step of his or her way through their AD. And also, we have file integrity monitoring in AD360, where we can talk to you about the files changed, modified, deleted. We can give you four important W's here. We can tell you who did what, where, and when it was done. And also, we can give you the older values before the change, and also the new values to what it was changed. So we can real-time monitor alerts and we can real-time monitor changes that happen in your hybrid AD environment and alert you about it if you think it's critical. We leave it to your discretion to decide what is critical and what is not. But I'm just saying that you could set up alert profiles for any report that you have in AD360 for any event that you think is critical. The next thing would be the data exfiltration report. All right. So if someone copies a file to a USB stick, or let's say someone copies a file and pastes it somewhere else to the local desktop machine, these kind of events, activities can be tracked and notified to you. All right. So that you can immediately act on those things and, educate the users not to do that, or catch them red-handed, and prevent any catastrophic catastrophic events from taking place. So data exfiltration can easily be prevented and detected using AD360. So yeah, so these are the top functionalities of AD360. We spoke about a lot of things. Again, like I said, it's just the tip of the iceberg. You have a lot of other functionalities that you definitely need to check out. You have a 30-day trial that you could download, and play around. So if you need a personalized demo, feel free to reach out to us. And you know now I think you should have understood the importance of having a solid IAM solution to keep your security posture straight in your environment. So by that, we come to the conclusion of this session. Thank you so much for being patient. If you have any questions, I'll be very glad to take it up. Thank you so much, guys.
Well, thanks, Ray. Let me jump in now with some questions that we've got for you. First out of the gate, there's a lot covered, certainly, but one of the questions that we often ask is, what are the business advantages to enterprises and SMBs for implementing ManageEngine's AD360?
Sure. So, firstly, Doug, identity-based cyber attacks can be prevented by ensuring that the end-user identities are properly managed and secure. Secondly, AD360 enables organizations to comply with industry regulations and standards that are related to identity and access management and cybersecurity. Thirdly, AD360 streamlines identity and access management operations and also simplifies IT management for organizations. This can help organizations improve their operational efficiency, reduce costs associated with IAM processes. Lastly, we need to also take a look at the license cost and the implementation cost. And ManageEngine is very affordable at these two areas. So that's my answer, Doug.
At Solutions Review, we cover identity and access management, and it is a reasonably crowded space. There's a lot of solution providers out there. Talk a little bit about how AD360 has built upon some of the existing solutions and what they're bringing to the table, and some of the differentiators that you're bringing to the table with regard to unique value proposition.
Right. So AD360, or let's say ManageEngine, has been in business for 20 years now, especially in the field of identity and access management. We all know that over the last few years, the way we work has changed drastically. That's why we have reimagined our product development approach to help organizations transition smoothly into hybrid work while ensuring IT security also. We have listened to several IT admins, organizations from around the world to understand their pain points and build solutions that meet a range of pressing identity and access management issues. One such example would be after talking to a few IT folks from universities and schools, we brought in a very tight integration with student ERP systems. And also, from a compliance standpoint, we established integrations with other SIM solutions out there.
The implications of identity and access management. So compliance is a huge challenge. There's a lot of new regulations coming down the pipe in the United States and worldwide. But with regard to data privacy, particularly in the United States, how is AD360 helping organizations meet those requirements?
Like I said, AD360 can be that one-stop shop where you could also manage your identities and also govern and audit those identities. So AD360 generates predefined and audit-ready compliance reports for various compliance mandates such as, let's say, PCI, DSS, HIPAA, GDPR, SOX, CCPA, etc. Besides predefined reporting, we can also create custom compliance reports in AD360. And also, you could schedule those reports to be sent to your email address without any manual intervention. Also, we have capabilities like two-factor authentication for machine logins, for VPN logins, for OWA logins, or any other endpoints that are radius compatible. So we know that two-factor authentication is one of the very important check boxes for NIST compliant. And also, we can create custom password complexity requirements, that can act on top of your Active Directory password policies through AD360. Again, this helps organizations to comply with NIST. We can also do file integrity monitoring, where we can track changes made to files very granularly, and that should stand close to the PCI compliance.
The term identity and access management, I think, is so appropriate because ultimately, a lot of the attacks we're seeing are really based and focused around identity. I'm curious, how does AD360 address identity-based cyber attacks?
Right. So AD360 has a very powerful IGA capabilities that help manage and secure organizations' digital identities. For instance, AD360 provides custom automation policies to simplify labor-intensive tasks such as user provisioning, deprovisioning, Active Directory cleanup. I mean, that's a huge pain point and a common one across the globe. Password resets, group membership modifications, and more, all without human intervention. So it's automated. So AD360 also helps, enforce control over administrative activities by implementing approval-based workflows. All right. So let's say you have help desk technicians created in AD Manager Plus. So that's another thing. My personal opinion would be, like I said in the demo, the less number of hands that touch AD directly, the better it is. So that in AD360, you could create help desk technicians where they would have a separate login and you could give them different responsibilities to perform. All right. So where you could also have approval based workflow. So you as a manager can actually have visibility into what your help desk technicians have been doing, and you can either approve or deny based on what you see fit. All right. So the focal point of IGA here is to comply with various regulatory standards, and AD360 helps your organization comply with the GDPR, HIPAA, PCI, all the other regulatory standards out there. And we also have adaptive authentication, analytics, and other powerful integrations.
Nice. There are a lot of things happening in the space. One of the things that we've been hearing about that I wanted to ask you about is cyber insurance. Companies are potentially going to be mandated to carry cyber insurance, protecting their data, their networks, obviously customer data. Can you talk a little bit about how you're approaching this idea of cyber insurance with regard to AD360?
Sure thing, Doc. So A360 can help organizations become qualified for cyber insurance, which is a big thing right now, given the increasing cyber attacks in the outside world, by providing a comprehensive identity and access management solution that addresses several key cybersecurity risks. And cyber insurance providers typically require organizations to meet certain security standards before offering coverage. By implementing 8360, organizations can improve their overall security posture and meet these standards, and also reduce the risk of cyber incidents and improve their eligibility for cyber insurance coverage. I can give you a couple of direct examples for this. For instance, 8360's access management capabilities enable organizations to ensure that only authorized users have access to critical systems and data. This reduces the risk of unauthorized access, which is a common cause of data breaches and other cyber incidents. Secondly, insurance companies consider compliance as a key factor when assessing an organization's risk profile, and having a robust identity governance solution like AD360 can go a long way, help organizations demonstrate compliance with industry regulations and standards, which can result in lower cyber insurance premiums.
Nice. Well, Ray, before we wrap things up, I'm curious, what's the best way to engage with ManageEngine in order to start a consideration cycle and really have a conversation with somebody like yourself?
Okay, so we have several avenues to reach out to ManageEngine. So first, if you know which component in AD360 you would like, or if you would like the suite itself, you could just go to our website. You could contact us through chat. You could call us anytime. We would have the support channel available, the phone number on our website, and we work 24/5, just not during the weekends. And I could even, throw my email address so that you could contact directly and we can have a conversation going here. We can arrange a personalized demo. If not, you could download a 30-day trial of AD360, play around a bit, see how that works for you, and make a choice.
And is that how it typically goes? I mean, is that how folks kind of begin the engagement process, as they start a demo and maybe a self-guided demo, and then they eventually kind of connect with somebody on the customer success team and begin to talk through how it would work in their particular set of circumstances?
Let's say it's 50-50. Some people would play around a bit initially, and if they like what they see, they reach out to us. Some people just like the idea of AD360. They would directly reach out to us, and we walk them through AD360, let's say for a demo, an hour demo. And if they like what they see, we will also help them with a proof of concept, and we'll take it from there.
Well, outstanding. Well, we would certainly encourage everybody watching to go and check out the AD360 website and learn more about it. There's a lot of information on the site, and again, this is something that isn't going away. If you need a solution, or you need a better solution than what you currently have right now, we would encourage you to seriously consider ManageEngine's AD360. It is one of the top solutions that we're covering today. Ray, thanks very much for the presentation. Outstanding work, covered a lot of ground. Best of luck this year, and thanks for the time.
Thanks for having me here, Doug. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Another solution in our spotlight. We want to thank ManageEngine and Ray for his fine presentation, and we appreciate your attendance as well. Until next time, I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review. Thanks for watching.